To new members of our faculty, staff, and students who are joining us, welcome. We're pleased you're here at one of the great traditions of the university, and by that, of course, I mean the picnic that occurs after the speech. Some of you may have wondered why we only open the food lines after the speech, and I think we all really know the answer to that, so we won't dwell on it. Joking aside, I always look forward to this event. Many of you know that I was raised on a farm, and agricultural life certainly has its own series of recurring rhythms. And we have these rhythms in the university community as well. Our academic calendar is based on the agrarian calendar. And this is one of those times that marks the start of the fall semester. It's a time when we get back together, we renew friendships. We apparently back up a lot of trucks. Sorry, I could have pretended I was able to ignore that better, but we all know it was a pretend. So, but we are about safety at Colorado State University. There is no doubt about that. Well, it'll be interesting to see how I recover from that. It's a chance for us to get back together, to renew friendships, see how things went over the summer, and it's a chance for us to reflect a little bit on where we've been and to look forward a bit to what's going to happen over the coming year. It's a chance for us to spend a little time together here on the Oval while the days are still long. It's a milestone, if you will, that helps to mark the passage of time. One of the other major ways that we mark the passage of time, of course, is through memory. And I have a memory from 2009 of standing on the steps behind us delivering my inaugural address. We commented on the challenges that we faced and, in fact, the fear that accompanied them as we stood on the brink of what we now know to have been the start of the Great Recession, but what at the time was simply an economic abyss that we could not see across. And we contrasted and compared those challenges to those faced by our predecessors as they dealt with the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, World War II, and the Vietnam era. Yes, I talked about Lincoln in that speech, as I am prone to do. But I think in the end, the message of that inaugural address was pretty simple, that we were going to focus on our academic fundamentals, that we were going to pursue excellence in everything that we did, and that in fact, pursuing excellence in the face of challenge was the legacy that had been left to us by those who built this university. We described it as a great and generous legacy, a legacy of an American land-grant university, of Colorado's university. We said it was a university with its roots deeply planted here in the West, but its eyes firmly fixed on the horizon of the future. We described it as a legacy of enormous achievement and breathtaking potential. That was, and that remains, our legacy. Last week, I was out on the Eastern Plains finishing up this year's annual statewide tour. It's a time where we go out across the state and we host alumni groups, we speak with Rotary clubs and other service organizations, we visit our ag experiment stations, we chat with our Extension Forest Service personnel. It's a good time for us to listen, and also a time for us to update other people on the university. And when we update, we talk about things like 8 consecutive years of record enrollment, Colorado's school of choice for the last decade, the largest and most diverse entering class in the history of Colorado State University, 1 in 4, still the first in their family ever to go to college, 44% graduating debt-free, 80% with employment in their fields within 6 months of graduation, more than 90% wanting to attend CSU again. We also talk about the fiscal challenges that continue to reshape, for good and ill, American higher education. We talk about years of research records and the amazing productivity of this faculty. We talk about some of the awards and prizes that act as markers of the tremendous quality of this community of scholars. We talk about a renewed commitment to agriculture and to rural Colorado, and a university that is fully engaged with the citizens of the state that it exists to serve. We remind them, of course, about the rebuilding and the renovation of the campus that will serve as a home to generations of Rams to come. And we thank them for their philanthropic support that has allowed us year after year to set new fundraising records. And we remind them how important their philanthropy is for access, yes, through scholarships, but equally important, access to excellence. And we end on that note of excellence. And we remind them, as we often remind ourselves, that we expect of ourselves excellence in everything that we do, from the arts to athletics, from Fort Collins to Rocky Ford to Antarctica, from a freshman student who first sets foot on this campus determined to make their mark, to an emeritus professor who is putting the final finishing touches and polishing their aspect of the CSU legacy. This quest for excellence unites us, it defines us, it inspires us. It is who Colorado State University is. Now, in each of those areas I just mentioned and so many others, there are so many individuals that I should mention, so many people I should call out by name to highlight work that has gone well above and beyond, work that has made a tremendous difference, work that has really changed lives. But one of the great things about this university is that if I were to start to do that, this would be a very, very long speech. And it's also true that one of the other things about Colorado State is that we don't, and this may be a flaw that we have, we don't tend to pause that much in self-congratulation. When we pause, it tends to be to take a breath, to wipe our brow, to share a smile, and then to put our shoulder back to the wheel, because we recognize how much work there is left to do. And Colorado State does things. But that begs a question. Do we sometimes try to do too much? Do we sometimes overreach? It would be easier, some would say wiser, to perhaps not take on so many issues in the face of so many challenges. Maybe discretion is the better part of valor in the face of so much uncertainty. Do we need to admit all of these students and build this campus this much right now? Maybe now's the time to focus a little bit more on some key research areas. Maybe this is a time for us to think about ourselves. After all, we have to be healthy before we can help others. And before you know it, these sorts of comments are weaving themselves into a narrative that suggests that inaction on a whole variety of fronts is really simply the prudent course to take. And this is a hypnotic and a seductive narrative. It is an excuse in a candy coating that dissolves and allows us to taste its bitter medicine when we remember that we don't exist to serve ourselves. We were created to serve others. We were created to push ourselves, to stretch and to strain, and then to do it again as often as we need to. If we don't find a way to admit this next generation of extraordinarily talented students from a generation with a very big heart, who will? If we don't remodel our research infrastructure, where will our faculty create the next generation of great discoveries? If we don't step up and find a way to help feed a population of 9 billion people in a sustainable manner, what will our answer be when we're asked why we turned away from that challenge? We've asked these questions before in the fall address, but they're no less pertinent this year. If not us, who? If not now, when? These are questions that we have never turned away from. Colorado State University is the most sustainable university in the country because the people of this university knew that it mattered and they went to work to make it so. That's CSU in action. CSU has committed to equitable work environments for our female and our non-tenured track colleagues because we know it's the right thing to do. We're proud of what we've accomplished, even as we acknowledge there's much more work to be done. That's CSU in action. CSU has committed to looking these issues of diversity and race directly in the eye and to make change because we know that to fail to do so condemns yet another generation to suffer through the disease of racism, and that's unacceptable. So CSU acts. CSU has committed to reframe our thinking around sexual violence because we, the men of Colorado State University, know we hold it in our hands to remove this stain from our society today, and so today, CSU acts. We've moved into the issue of living wages and attainable housing, not because these issues are simple, but because we believe we cannot afford to wait on these issues. CSU doesn't wait, she acts. And we have agreed to re-envision what we see of ourselves as a university for our next 150 years, not because we lack things to do in the here and now, but because we know that the seeds we plant today are the here and now of tomorrow. And we are no less accountable to those who follow us than we are to those who came before us and built the legacy of this great university on which we stand today. And so we do stand here today. And as we do, we look forward, and the path in front of us for the next year is not that complex. We will focus on our academic and fiscal fundamentals. We will pursue excellence in everything we do, and we will never turn away from any question that asks us how we can do better, how we can be better in any of our dimensions. This is the Colorado State University spirit. It is a spirit that is proud but never satisfied. It is a spirit that has one eye fixed firmly on the path directly in front of us to make sure our academic and fiscal fundamentals never lose their footing. But it has another eye equally fixed on the horizon, on the future that we are so determined to deliver to the next generation. It is a spirit that I think is embodied nearly perfectly in the School is Cool program. Now, for those of you who don't know, School is Cool is a labor of love started 25 years ago by a couple of our folks. It was a desire to help all the children from our community get off to school on the right foot, and it provides stuffed backpacks. And this year, the program served its 40,000th student, and we honored the guiding light of the program with the creation of the Kathy Pfeiffer School is Cool Scholarship. Now, I'm here to tell you that they didn't start that program because they didn't have anything to do, or because they thought it would be easy to serve 40,000 kids over a quarter century. That program was started because people of immense character and heart saw a need, and they didn't spend time arguing about whose job it was. They just rolled up their sleeves, they got their hands dirty, and they made a difference. And that trait, acting, striving, excelling in the face of challenge, is Colorado State University. We've seen it in ourselves over the past 8 years. We've seen it and inherited it from the people who built this university. And it's a trait that we saw so strongly reflected in the man who created land-grant universities with a stroke of his pen on July 2nd, 1862. Now, between 1858 and 1862, Lincoln, for reasons that are historically obvious, wrote numerous letters around the theme of perseverance in the face of immense challenge. And I'd like to read you 4 short sections from those letters. Our cause must not be surrendered at the end of 1 or even 100 defeats. I know not how to aid you, save in the assurance of one of mature age and much severe experience, that you cannot fail if you resolutely determine that you will not. I may not be able to do more than I can, but I shall do all that I can. And my personal favorite, a section of a longer quote that I keep a copy of in my wallet. I do the very best I can, the very best I know how, and I mean to keep on doing it until the end. These words embody the spirit that runs in our veins, the spirit that is part of the reason we have all come to love Colorado State University, the spirit that makes us part of CSU. I close my remarks to alumni groups on statewide tour by saying that we hope that they're proud of their alma mater, because it remains our great privilege to represent them, them on their behalf. And I want to close with that same sentiment to all of you, the faculty, staff, and students, and alumni that are here, and friends of Colorado State University. I hope you're proud of this university. Not satisfied, not thinking that we do everything perfectly, but proud of our heart, our effort, our actions, our ability to achieve and to excel and to hold ourselves accountable. Because each of you and the sum of your actions is Colorado State University. and it remains my very deep honor to represent each of you. Let's have a great year, CSU. Let's make a difference. Go Rams!